The place, Carswell Air Force Base, Fort Worth, Texas. Time, the pre-dawn hours of March 5th, 1962. The day the Strategic Air Command will give its most convincing demonstration of the potential built into its newest and fastest manned weapon system, the B-58 Hustler. For today, a lone B-58, her three-man flight crew, her able ground crew, all members of SAC's 43rd Bomb Wing, will make an assault on 3 transcontinental speed records. Piloting the Hustler will be Captain Robert G. Sauer, hometown Lexington, North Carolina. The navigator, Captain Robert McDonald from Cresskill, New Jersey. And the defense systems operator, Captain John T. Walton, a native of Greenville, Kentucky. The high professional caliber of these 3 men stands as a symbol for the thousands who make up our strategic combat crew, who, through the routine of day-to-day training, continually strive to narrow the margin for error, to attain that extra degree of proficiency, to keep the balance of air power in our favor. But today's flight is far from routine. By nightfall, if successful, their achievement will be common knowledge to most of the civilized world.
Common 55, cargo, taxi runway 35, time 32 and 1/2. Common 55, cargo, the wind 030 degrees, 14 knots, cleared for takeoff. Over.
All right. You ready, Mac? All right, sir, I'm ready.
And yes, I was ready.
Okay. Throttle's coming to men AB. Carswell Tower, Toll Man 55, rolling.
With darkness still blanketing the field, the B-58 lifts off the Carswell runway and takes up a westward heading for Los Angeles, starting point for its race to New York. Directing the event, known under the code name Operation Heat Rise, is Headquarters, Strategic Air Command, Omaha. As nerve center of this nation's deterrent fight, SAC will be watching with vital interest every aspect in the performance of its unique supersonic bomber. Having received a full load of fuel off the Pacific coast, Captain Sowers follows the tanker in over Los Angeles to the starting gate. Aboard the tanker is an official of the National Aeronautics Association who will validate the start of the run visually. For backup, radar at Los Angeles International Airport will track the B-58 to the starting point. On hand is an NAA team together with a representative of the Air Force. Their job is to verify the time registered by their airborne colleagues.
Okay, Mac, get a good hack on the start.
We're coming up on the starting gate. Starting point. Ready. Ready.
Starting acceleration now.
And so the race against time is on. Before the day is done, the B-58 will have flown a distance of over 4,500 miles, announcing its arrival with a continuous sonic boom over every mile. Steadily gaining momentum as it flashes across the desert lands of Southern California, the Hustler nears peak velocity as it streaks over the natural wonders of Arizona 50,000 feet below. Elapsed time, Los Angeles to Grand Canyon, 16 minutes flat.
Okay, we're at Mach 2 now. Roger. CG checks 33%. We're 600 pounds above the curve.
We're running 14 seconds ahead of flight plan.
With the thrust of 4 powerful engines now fully unleashed, cities and towns along the flight path are devoured by a sustained pace of Mach 2, better than 1,200 miles per hour. As the bomber penetrates to the central United States, its stride is checked briefly for replenishment of fuel.
Mac, give me a rendezvous time.
Roger. ETA rendezvous 1743.
Okay, John, relay this to the tanker through SAC headquarters.
Roger. Drop kick. This is Tall Man 5-5. Over.
Charge, Tall Man 5-5. This is Dropkick. Over.
Roger. Drop kick. Tall Man 5-5.
Constant chum 1-3. Rendezvous time 1743. Zulu. Over.
Roger, Tall Man 5-5. Chum 1-3. This is Dropkick.
Chum 1-3. This is Dropkick. Estimated rendezvous Tall Man 5-5. 1743. Zulu.
Chum 1-3, Stallman 5-5. Starting descent.
Tallman 5-5, this is Loop Operator. Chum 1-3. Radio check. Tanker ready for contact.
Receivers ready. Contact receiver.
Contact tanker.
All tanks taking fuel nicely.
Tallman 5-5. Refueling complete.
Okay, Boone. Disconnect on my count of 3.
10 minutes and nearly 57,000 pounds of fuel later, the Hustler is free to regain speed and altitude for its sprint on to New York. City by city, state by state, the long-distance race unreels across the plains of the Midwest. The ticking away of each minute means that 20 miles more have been bridged in the transcontinental span. 20 miles more gained on its eastern objective.
straight ahead.
At this end of the course, too, officials are standing by. With eyes fixed to the radar scope, this team waits to record that split second when the B-58 intersects its eastern terminal point. Above, in a loitering KC-135, another official is on hand for visual confirmation.
John, give New York Center our ETA. Raj. New York Center, this is Tallman 55, over.
Tallman 55, this is New York Center. Go ahead.
This is Tallman 55. Estimate New York at 35.
Raj, Tallman 55, we have you on radar.
Our musical program to bring you a special bulletin announcing its arrival by a sonic boom which many of our New York area listeners have no doubt heard in the past few minutes. A B-58 bomber of the Strategic Air Command is trying for new transcontinental speed limits.
Just 2 hours and 56.8 seconds after departing Los Angeles, the Hustler booms across the island of Manhattan to shatter the first of 3 coast-to-coast records being attempted. A record that carries with it award of the coveted Bendix trophy.
This is Tallman 55, over.
Raj, Tallman 55.
Tallman 55, departing gate at New York, heading west, aircraft in the green.
So, with the Bendix already tucked away, the bomber doubles back toward the west coast, setting its sights on 2 more records, including victory in a race with the sun. Across the breadth of America, the B-58 with its bullet-like speed traces a ribbon of white against the blue sky, marking its path over mountains, rivers, and plains. It telescopes the distance between the towns and cities dotting its course, links the smallest to the largest, and merges them into a giant kaleidoscope of buildings, streets, and most important of all, people. People whose daily routines are momentarily interrupted by the spectacle overhead. Older people who, having seen a scientific revolution in their lifetimes, now stand in awe of this symbol of technological advancement. Younger people, to whom the unwinding vapor trails conjure up dreams of their future in the air, or perhaps in space. People from every station in life who now recognize the startling sonic boom as, indeed, the sound of freedom. With the end of the race now only seconds away, the sprawling suburbs of Los Angeles loom up in the distance. 18th hole. At Los Angeles Wilshire Country Club, the foursome who just a few hours ago were watching the start of today's epoch-making flight from the first tee, now dead heat with the B-58 to finish the course and perhaps break some records of their own. With the last mile of its course now spent, the Hustler burst over the finish line to signal official termination of this race against time. So the curtain descends on a history-making flight that gives the world 3 new marks to shoot for. The first record, Los Angeles to New York, 2 hours, 58.7 seconds. On the return trip, it was 2 hours, 15 minutes, 50.8 seconds, beating the sun by over 41 minutes. Third record, round trip, 4 hours, 41 minutes, 14.9 seconds, including refueling time. On hand to welcome the crew are members of the press and representatives of both Air Force and industry. Headlining the list of those in attendance is General Thomas S. Power, Chief of SAC, offering his congratulations for a job well done. In recognition of their achievements, General Power makes award of the Distinguished Flying Cross to Captains Sowers, McDonald, and Walton. In accepting the award, these 3 men, we can be sure, do so not only for themselves, but for the hundreds who contributed so valuably toward making the day's feat possible. Finally, to the service these men represent goes the famed Bendix Trophy, a trophy that for over 30 years has played such an important part in the development of aviation. Today's performance of the B-58 and her crew was summed up by the first Bendix Trophy winner, General James H. Doolittle.
Well, a lot of wind has certainly blown over the takeoff strip since I won the first Bendix in 1931. My souped-up plane covered the course from Los Angeles to Cleveland and on to New York at an average speed of 223 miles per hour. Now, 31 years later, the Bendix Trophy has been won by an airplane under conditions so different we couldn't have imagined them then. It's not a souped-up speedster, but an operational bomber of the Strategic Air Command Striking Force, the B-58. The flight wasn't made by a single daring pilot, but by a crew of 3 trained over many years in their duties, down to the last detail. Finally, its average speed was just about an even 1,000 miles an hour faster than mine of 30-odd years ago. The great performance of this airplane and its Strategic Air Command crew should give every American confidence in the ability of the United States Air Force to protect our nation.